Hello everyone and welcome to Improvements in Chaos. I'm William Strife and I'm back here on the Chaos server. Parv is not with me today. I'm doing some work on my own and, you know, more or less improving things. Last time I did one of these, I built this magnificent facility here, but one of the biggest problems that Parv and I have in the facility is that we don't have any power. We're not actually that technical. So, oh, look at that. Kieran is online. I noticed that someone has left me a very interesting gift. A witch has left me chimerite ore and apples, which makes me a little bit uneasy. Also, I've been pumping up tons of lava from down in the mines where Parv's decided to burn me to death ages ago. Plenty of you remember that, I'm certain. But anyways, that's what's going on here. So, first of all, my first problem is that I've made too many I've made more of these drums than I want to, okay? So I need to get myself a mass storage system to empty these things out into, because I don't want to make any more to continue pumping lava up. So to do that, I'm going to need to engage in one of the mods that allows me to create tanks. And one of them, just by chance, is also one of my favorite mods in the mod pack, and it's called Mekanism. So I went and built this facility over here. I tore down the old temple and used it as a foundation. And as you can see down here, I've been playing around with the chisel mod. This is a chisel. It just takes a stick and a iron ingot and right-click with it, and it opens this up. And basically, any vanilla block, you can drop it in here, and you're going to get a whole bunch of options for really interesting-looking blocks to play around with. But sandstone columns, just oak wood for the roof, and then I used a whole bunch of the leftover tiger wood whenever I was building that facility. So this is the building that I'm going to use to build and create the power facility. And in order to do that, I'm going to have to engage in Mekanism. So just type in mech down in the search bar, especially for this mod pack. It is the Chaosville mod pack. It's based off of Resonant Rise. You guys can get your hands on it through the AT launcher if you want to. Link is into the description, or at least it should be. So this, just 3 pages is what encompasses Mekanism, which is significantly less than a lot of other mods. So, you know, to get up and running, there's certain things that you have to get done. First of all, you have to generate power, and to do that, you have to create a heat generator. So for a heat generator, you need osmium, iron, copper, and some sort of wood. I don't think I have all the materials in this facility. I'll have to run back and grab them. And the second thing you'll need is a metallurgic infuser, because this is a critical machine for creating basically everything else. For that, you need furnaces, osmium, iron, and redstone. So I'm pretty sure that I've got everything except for stone and wood in here. So I'll just hop back and grab that stuff. Okay, I've got the all of the copper and stone and wood that I'm going to need. So let's start out with the heat generator. To build this, I need iron, wood, copper, a furnace, and some osmium. So I'll go ahead and pop down my crafting table and start to get to work here. Now, here's a really useful tip for you. You can create most of this stuff easily without having to worry about memorizing any of this by holding down Shift and left-clicking this question mark here. Now, the catch about this is that if you come over here and say, look at these energy cubes, for instance, these energy cubes utilize energy tablets, which have stored values on them for how much energy they're holding. Any item that has some sort of a bar beneath it and stores energy, you know, holding Shift and left-clicking will not work, because the item IDs on these tablets and anything with an internal storage value, it just doesn't work. So it only works on stuff that doesn't have, you know, a bar beneath it. So I'll go ahead and make the heat generator, which is just a standard generator. It runs off of coal, something that I've got some charcoal with me to go ahead and power it up. And next up is the the metallurgic infuser. So to make the metallurgic infuser, I'm going to need 2 extra furnaces. Metallurgic infuser, there we go. Metallurgic infuser plus the heat generator. Now, there is a particular problem that exists inside of Mekanism, and it's, to be quite honest, it's a little bit awkward. The issue is that these things, as I put them down here, you can see that this is powered, okay? It requires electricity, and this bar over here, this represents the internal battery. And it's measured in RF, as you can see, just behind the NEI over there. It has 0 RF inside. So the problem is that cabling is the way that you get power from the generator to the metallurgic infuser, and, you know, basically into any other machine that exists in Minecraft. But the problem is that cabling in this game, if I scroll down just... here we go. The basic form of cabling, basic universal cable, takes steel and redstone. Now, that is not a particular problem for me. I have steel, which I seem to have left back in the other house. I'll grab some of that in a minute. But the problem is that steel, if you don't have any other, you know, convenient mod installed, the only way to make steel is through Mekanism, and this is the particular Mekanism steel ingot. And the way you make that is through steel dust, but to make steel dust is in the metallurgic infuser, and you have to combine coal with enriched iron, and to make enriched iron, you have to combine coal with iron in the metallurgic infuser, which requires power, and you need the cabling to get the power from the generator into the metallurgic infuser. This is something that really bugs me. So there is a way to get around this, and the way to do that is to put your generator down first and make certain that this backside with the hole in it is what is directly facing the machine that you want to power. So what you want to do is come in here, drop some fuel into it, and it fills up, as you see, in the left bar there, and you can hear it running. And now it's generating red flux, and it's powered this, but that's only because the little hole over there is immediately facing into this. Okay, I've got the steel that I need. Go ahead and turn all of that into ingots. I got two and a half stacks of it now, roughly. The next job that I have to do is create a crusher, because while this heat generator is all good and well, I have a whole bunch of organic material, and there is something called a biogenerator, and that's going to be a whole lot more efficient for me in the short term before I get a completely self-sustaining energy system up and running. So to make a crusher, I know it's one of the... Here we go, a crusher. I'm going to need control circuits, which is redstone enriched and enriched alloy. I'm also going to need a steel casing and 2 lava buckets, which the steel casing is easy enough to make, but the control circuits... Whoops, it's the wrong one. You don't want to make basic circuits because they're more expensive and they're more troublesome. You have to go to the nether to make them. You want to make control circuits. It's enriched alloy and redstone, but the enriched alloy is redstone combined with iron, which is done in the metallurgic infuser, and it takes time. And now that's going to make enriched iron. It was not enriched iron, enriched alloy. So that's what it's going to do. It's going to make a bunch of that stuff. I'm going to go ahead and put the coal back in there. And now I need to make myself a steel casing. So steel casing, which is just a bunch of steel around an osmium ingot. Looks like my connection is starting to get a little bit funky. But in addition to that, I also need 2 buckets of lava. Now, luckily I have plenty of lava back in the other base, so I'll just run back and grab some right now. Okay, so I've got the buckets of lava, and we've got some enriched alloy now. So the next step is I need to get myself a little bit more redstone and the enriched alloy into control circuits. Now, enriched alloy is something that you're going to need tons of, and I mean lots of it. So it's probably a good idea to be making this stuff on a regular basis until you have tons of it sitting around. I always find myself having a lack of enriched alloy whenever I'm building these things. So to continue creating the crusher, I need a little bit more redstone. Jeez, it's just so much redstone. I'm just going to turn all of this into piles of redstone because I need it so badly. There we go. Now I've got a crusher. I need to make some basic cabling now. Steel on either side of redstone, so I don't need too much of this stuff, so I'm just gonna do 15 there. There we go. I've got oh geez, that's a lot more cabling than I actually need. But this stuff is phenomenal. If I hold down shift, you can see that it transfers RF, EU, MJ, and joules. So this works with thermal expansion, industrial craft, buildcraft, and mechanism. Now, we don't have industrial craft installed in this pack anymore because we really didn't like the way that it was having diminishing returns, but all the same, if you guys have it and you're running it in whatever pack you're using, these mechanism universal cables are the best that you can find and the best that you can use. So let's see, the next step for me to go through is probably to let this run out of power. The RF is draining at a steady pace. But that's not all. I'm going to need other stuff aside of a crusher, and while I'm at it, the thing that's great about Mekanism is that you can also make what are known as factories. So where a crusher, I'll just pop this down and take a look at it. While the crusher has one input and one output slot, a factory will have multiple input and output slots, so it can process more than one object at a time. Okay, so it looks like the heat generator is now completely empty of power, so I can go ahead and pick it up, and I can move it over to, say, just right there. Oops, that's backward. So it might be worth pointing something great out at this point. You should probably make something like a wrench or a crescent hammer. I like the thermal expansion crescent hammer, which is just 3 iron and 1 tin ingot. And what this thing does is it just allows you to rotate the machine around to get the right direction. Super, super useful, super valuable. So I'm just going to go ahead and hook that up now. There we go. Now, what I need to do to make this crusher into a factory is I'm going to need to get my hands on some pulverized, or just basically gold dust first. So I'm going to go ahead and set that down. And do I have any? Yes, I have blocks of coal over here. I'll go ahead and turn this back into straight up coal and power the baby up. I'll go ahead and put 2 gold ingots in here. Oh, my connection is doing some wondrous things. Now, it's a little bit on the loud side, but it does the job. It'll get me 2 piles of gold dust. Meanwhile, I'm going to need an energized smelter, which is cobblestone, control circuits, and glass. Wondrous. I don't have any glass. Run back and get that now. Okay, now that I have the glass, let's go ahead and make this energized smelter, which is 2 control circuits. I need a steel casing. Silly me. Silly, silly me. Okay. Go ahead and make a steel casing, which is just steel around an osmium ingot. Go ahead and make this baby. There we go. Energized smelter. There we go. Now I've got a basic factory. Now, the factory is a very, very interesting object. Go ahead and stash that glass and a bunch of this other stuff. The factory is an interesting object because, first of all, I can put it down, and as you can see, it's got 3 slots in it, and also over here you can see there's an advanced factory and an elite. Each succeeding one has more slots in it to be used, so the great thing about this, I'm going to have to come in here and turn in NEI off, but over here you can see all of these slots. So up here, this is where you input upgrades to increase the speed and decrease the energy required to do the job. This is a smelting furnace, but I don't want a smelting furnace. What I want is a crusher. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to, with my crescent hammer, because this will work faster, I'm going to hold shift, right click, and it just breaks the block immediately of these machines. And I'm going to take the basic factory, put it down right there, and then pop the crusher in to this slot. This is the repurposed slot. Poor Crane Song seems to be incapable of maintaining a connection. Kind of ironic because she's closer to the server in the UK than I am. Anyways, now I've got an energized smelter back, and this basic factory has now become a large crushing factory. That's really, really convenient and really cool. Okay, so like I was saying before, the heat generator, not exactly my optimal way of making energy. The optimal way for me to make energy in the short term right now, especially with how much organic material, is the biogenerator. Okay, so with this basic factory done, it's time for me to make the biomatter that I'm going to use. But as you can see, it's going to crush these potatoes up, and it's going to make this biofuel. Now, the biofuel is super useful because it's going to be making tons of stuff for me to use in the biogenerator, for me to run everything. So to make the biogenerator, I need a basic circuit, or a control circuit, some iron, redstone, and some enriched alloy. So, okay, let's make the biogenerator now. make 1, 2 biogenerators. I'm not going to overdo it. So with these biogennies there, go ahead and put them down right behind everything. I'm going to go ahead and smack them with the wrench, get them turned around the right way. And immediately I can turn around and I can take this stuff. I can dump the biofuel in. Okay, so with that up and running, I've got a lot more power to be using. But what good is the power if I don't have a place to store it? So I'm going to make myself a basic energy cube, which is energy tablets, lapis lazuli, redstone, and a steel casing. So let's make myself another steel casing. Now for the next part. The energy tablets are a little bit more expensive. The energy tablets are composed of enriched alloy, redstone, and gold across the middle, which, you know, depending on how long you've been playing the game, it can be a little bit on the pricey side, but there we go. And the enriched alloy, and now we've got 2 energy tablets. These things are great. The energy tablets are basically a form of portable battery, and it's super, super useful. I could put it in right here, and it would start sucking up the energy. Okay, so basic energy cube, lapis, everything. Let's point out a very important fact here. Remember how I said hold shift and left click the question mark? It will never work on something like an energy cube because these energy tablets have energy storage, which dynamically changes their item IDs, basically. So in order to get this done, I have to construct it manually by hand, and I think it was lapis on the top and bottom. And then, was it redstone in the corners? Yes, it was. There we go. So, I should explain how the energy cube works. Energy cube is pretty simple. It's got one output, multiple inputs. So this one side with the plate on it, this represents the output. Everything else is an input. And like with all the other machines, you can smack it with a wrench and you can move it around like so. And then shift right click and you'll just take it up off the floor. So what I want to do is pop this down, and so it's hooking up to an input there. All of the extra energy coming out of these biogenerators is going to go ahead and flow right into that basic energy cube. And with power storage sorted out, now it's time to move on to a sustainable source of energy, hydrogen.